Have you ever wondered why certain moments in your day suddenly make you feel anxious, hurt, or small, even when nothing bad is happening? Why a tone of voice, a memory, or one simple sentence can change your whole mood in seconds? Why you sometimes feel like you're still fighting battles that should have ended years ago? If you've ever asked yourself, why does my past still affect me today? You're not alone. Because the truth is, many of us are still living with emotional wounds we never had the chance to heal. Childhood trauma doesn't disappear just because we grow up. It hides inside our habits, our fears, our relationships, and shows up in the smallest moments of daily life. In this video, we're going to explore why you still feel haunted by your childhood trauma, how it silently shapes your adult life, and how you can finally begin to heal, gently and at your own pace. Let's begin. Childhood trauma is something most people carry quietly, almost secretly. It slips into our lives in ways we don't even recognize. Sometimes, it hides behind our habits, our fears, and the way we treat ourselves. For many of us, trauma doesn't look like one big dramatic event. It often looks like growing up feeling unheard, being constantly compared to others, being shamed for your feelings, emotional neglect, instability in the home, walking on eggshells around parents, or simply never being shown the love, safety, and validation every child deserves. These experiences don't stay in the past. They follow us into adulthood, quietly shaping how we think, how we react, and how we love. So here's the question: how childhood trauma shows up in adults? A lot of people don't even realize they are carrying trauma. They just think something is wrong with them. But here's what trauma actually looks like in adults. You apologize too much, even when you did nothing wrong. You struggle to trust people because trust never felt safe. You attract partners who repeat patterns from your childhood. You feel responsible for everyone's emotions except your own. You're terrified of disappointing people. You shut down during conflict because fighting meant danger. You're strong for everyone, but collapse when you're alone. You can't relax, because calmness felt unfamiliar growing up. Trauma doesn't only live in memory. It lives in your nervous system, your reactions, your body. Why you still feel haunted today? Trauma leaves behind something psychologists call imprints. These imprints affect your self-esteem, your attachment style, your ability to trust, your emotional regulation, the way you interpret situations. For example, if you grew up being criticized, you might still fear criticism, even when it's gentle or harmless. If your feelings were dismissed, you may still believe your emotions don't matter. If you were surrounded by chaos, your brain may still be stuck in survival mode, constantly scanning for danger even when you're safe. Triggers: the ghosts of the past. Triggers are small things in the present that remind your brain of the past. It could be a tone of voice, someone raising their volume, certain words, a smell, a song, a place, feeling ignored, being interrupted, someone walking away during an argument. Your body reacts instantly, even before your mind understands why. Your heart races, your breathing changes, your muscles tighten, you feel 10 years old again, scared, confused, or overwhelmed. That's trauma, not a memory, but a survival response that stayed with you. A real example: I once knew someone who grew up in a house filled with shouting. Every time her parents argued, she would hide in her room and cover her ears. But when she became an adult, even gentle disagreements made her panic. Not because the situation was dangerous, but because her nervous system never learned the difference. It took her years to realize she wasn't reacting to the present. She was reacting to an old wound. And that's what trauma does. It blurs the line between then and now. The invisible effects of childhood trauma: most people with childhood trauma experience at least one of these. 1. Difficulty forming healthy relationships. You may fear abandonment or become overly attached. 2. Feeling not good enough. Trauma often turns into self-doubt and harsh inner criticism. 3. Emotional numbness. You survive by shutting down feelings, even good ones. 4. Overthinking everything. Your brain learned hypervigilance as a survival tool. 5. People-pleasing. You learned that love had to be earned. 6. Fear of conflict, because conflict always meant danger growing up. 7. Struggling with self-worth. You may chase validation or shrink to avoid being noticed. Trauma affects how you show up in the world in ways you may not even realize. Healing. The part no one talks about. Healing childhood trauma is not about forgetting the past. It's about changing the meaning the past holds over your life. Healing looks like setting boundaries, recognizing your triggers, understanding your inner child, choosing healthier relationships, learning emotional safety, Practicing self-compassion, unlearning survival patterns, showing up for yourself even when it's uncomfortable. Some days healing feels empowering. Other days it feels like you're falling apart. Both are part of the journey. One powerful reminder: you survived something you should have never faced as a child. And the fact that you're here, watching this, means you're ready to understand your story in a new way. Your trauma is part of your past, but it does not have to be your identity. You deserve peace. You deserve love. You deserve to feel safe. And you deserve to heal, slowly, gently, at your own pace. But before healing can truly begin, there's one important step that many people skip: understanding how trauma actually forms. A child's brain is not fully developed. They don't have the ability to understand situations like an adult. So when something painful happens, a child doesn't think, "Something is wrong with my environment." They think, "Something is wrong with me." This is why childhood trauma feels so personal. It becomes part of your identity, your self-worth, your belief about who you are. If you grew up with criticism, you may still believe you're not enough. If you grew up with emotional neglect, you may still feel unlovable even when people care. If you grew up in chaos, you may still feel unsafe even in a peaceful home. Trauma isn't about the event. It's about the meaning your younger self attached to it. Why we blame ourselves. Even as adults, many people secretly believe, "Maybe I deserved it. Maybe it wasn't that bad. Other people had it worse." But children blame themselves because it gives them control. If they believe they were the problem, then maybe they can change and make everything okay. This is called survival guilt. It keeps you trapped. As an adult, you have to rewrite that story. You were a child. You were doing your best to survive. You were not responsible for the wounds you carry. Let's talk about the inner child in a real, practical way. This term gets used a lot, but many people don't fully understand it. Your inner child is the part of your brain frozen in a moment of fear, confusion, or sadness. It's the part that feels rejected easily, feels scared when someone raises their voice, feels overwhelmed by conflict, feels desperate for approval, gets hurt when someone ignores you, feels guilty for saying no, feels unsafe when things change. Healing childhood trauma means learning to reparent that part of you. You don't have to forget the past. You need to comfort the child version of you who lived through it. Why many adults don't talk about their trauma? People often wonder, why didn't I talk about this earlier? Why do I freeze when I want to open up? Why do I minimize my own pain? Because trauma teaches you three things. 1. Stay quiet, or things will get worse. Many children learned that expressing their feelings caused more chaos. 2. Don't inconvenience anyone. You were trained to stay small and not create problems. 3. Your feelings don't matter. Ignored feelings become suppressed feelings. So as an adult, speaking up feels unsafe, even when the danger is gone. The body remembers, even when the mind forgets. This is one of the most powerful truths about trauma. Your body remembers tension, fear, raised voices, the feeling of being frozen, your heartbeat during stressful moments. You may not remember the event clearly, but your body reacts like it's happening again. That's why something as simple as a certain smell, someone standing too close, a door closing too loudly, someone walking away from you, can take you back to a painful moment from your childhood. Your body is not overreacting, it's trying to protect you. But that protection may be holding you back from truly living. One example many people don't realize is trauma. A lot of children grew up with parents who controlled everything: your clothes, your career choices, your friends, your emotions, your hobbies, your tone, even your body language. And now, as adults, you over-explain. You second-guess yourself. You wait for permission. You freeze when someone disapproves. You struggle to make decisions. This is not being indecisive. This is trauma. Let's talk about attachment styles. Childhood experiences shape your attachment style as an adult. 1. Anxious attachment. You fear abandonment. You overthink. You feel unworthy. You cling to relationships. 2. Avoidant attachment. You shut down emotionally. You fear closeness. You struggle to trust. You push people away. 3. Disorganized attachment. You want closeness, but fear it. You crave love, but also fear being hurt. This often comes from unpredictable childhood environments. Understanding your attachment style is a major step toward healing. The healing process. What it actually looks like. Healing is not about journaling perfectly, meditating every morning, cutting off people, pretending to be positive. Healing is messy. It's slow. Sometimes it feels like you're going backwards. Sometimes you feel worse before you feel better. That's okay. Healing looks like choosing not to react in old ways, Catching yourself during triggers. Giving yourself compassion after mistakes. Learning to breathe through discomfort. Releasing the guilt that wasn't yours. Celebrating small steps. Letting your nervous system adjust to safety. Healing is not about becoming a new person. It's about returning to the version of you who could have existed if you were loved properly. You are not broken, you are injured. And injuries can heal. You're not dramatic. You're not overly sensitive. You're not weak. You were shaped by circumstances that should have been kinder. Your reactions are not flaws. They are adaptations that once kept you safe. Now it's time to learn new ways of living. Ways rooted in safety, not survival. If you're still watching, here's a message for you. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of healing. A version that trusts. A version that feels grounded. A version that feels deserving. A version that doesn't live in fear. A version that can receive love without questioning it. You are not too late. You are not too damaged. You are not beyond healing. Your story is not over, and this chapter you're entering might be the one where everything begins to make sense. If you're struggling, you are not alone. There is hope, there is help, and there is a future where your childhood no longer defines your adulthood. If you resonated with any part of this video, share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might help someone else feel less alone. If you want more videos about childhood trauma, inner child healing, emotional wounds, psychology facts, mental wellness, self-worth, and breaking generational patterns, make sure to subscribe. You deserve a life that feels safe, warm, and truly yours. And I'm here to walk with you on that journey.